Hey, let me ask you something. Have you ever caught yourself unlocking your phone without knowing why? Or switching tabs mid sentence? How about needing a podcast while you're in the shower just so your brain doesn't feel empty? See, that's not a habit, that's a dependency. We're living in a world that rewards overstimulation, dopamine hits, constant updates, nonstop content. But your nervous system, it was designed for slowness, for rhythm, for space. And now, you're trying to focus, trying to feel peace, trying to create something meaningful. But you see your brain? Your brain is addicted to noise. This isn't just about screen time. It's about what we're avoiding with that screen time. You don't need more productivity hacks. You need to withdraw from the chaos you've normalized. And I've lived this. And getting honest about my overstimulation addiction, yes, addiction was the first step to reclaiming my attention, my clarity, and my creativity. Welcome back to Hard Truths, the podcast where we cut through the noise, challenge the way you think, and talk about what's actually holding you back. Today's episode is not about text shaming. It's about truth telling. And the truth is, if you can't focus, it's probably not because you're lazy or broken. It's because your nervous system is maxed out. So let's talk about how to reset it. Let's talk about how to reclaim your mind. Let's get into it. Let's break it down. You're not unfocused because you lack willpower. You're unfocused because your brain is running on overstimulation autopilot. Every swipe, every like, every notification, it's giving you a dopamine hit. Tiny little jolts of novelty that flood your brain's reward center and reinforce one single thing. Stay stimulated, stay distracted. This is what neuroscientists call the dopamine feedback loop. Here's how it works. Say you experience boredom or discomfort, so you reach for stimulation. Think about your phone, TikTok, emails. You get a dopamine hit. You feel better momentarily. Your brain learns, this is how we escape discomfort. But the more you feed it, the more it needs. And now, you can't sit in silence. You can't finish a book. You can't stay present in a conversation without mentally checking out. See, the world has trained your brain to chase novelty over depth. And here's the kicker. This constant dopamine drip isn't just making you distracted, it's making you less happy, less resilient, and less creative. See, a study from the University of Montreal showed that chronic overstimulation decreases baseline dopamine levels, making it harder to feel motivated or focused without artificial stimulation. That's why it feels harder to start things, why even rest doesn't feel restful anymore. See, your brain is fried, and your nervous system is stuck in a loop of more. This isn't about shame, it's about awareness. Because once you see the loop, you can finally interrupt it. And that's where the real power starts. Here's the truth most people won't tell you. Overstimulation isn't just hurting your productivity, it's reshaping your personality. Every time you avoid boredom, avoid stillness, avoid silence, you're reinforcing a brain that resists reflection, that fears depth, that panics when things get quiet. And what's the cost? Your creativity flatlines. Because ideas don't come from speed, they honestly come from space. How about your relationships? Your relationships suffer because you're half present, half scrolling. What about your emotional regulation? Your emotional regulation weakens because you're outsourcing self-soothing to a screen. A Harvard study showed that people would rather shock themselves than sit in silence with their thoughts. That's how deep the discomfort runs. You've trained your brain to be allergic to stillness, and now you feel quote unquote off without even knowing why. See, this shows up in real life. Think about you sit down to focus, but your mind itches for distraction, itches for that phone, itches for that conversation. How about you finally get a break, but instead of resting, you scroll until you're drained? What about you start a project, but the second it gets hard or boring, you pivot, you procrastinate, or worse, you quit? See, it's not that you don't want focus, it's that you've lost your tolerance for stillness. And that's the muscle we have to rebuild. Because presence isn't just a nice idea, it's the foundation of everything meaningful. And the more noise you remove, the more clarity you create. So the question becomes, can you sit with silence long enough to hear what your life is actually telling you? Here's the part no one talks about. When you start pulling away from overstimulation, it's going to feel worse before it feels better. Because your nervous system has adapted to chaos. It thinks constant noise is normal. So when you remove it, you don't feel peace. You feel panic. That's not failure. That's detox. See, the first time I tried to leave my phone in another room, I got itchy, restless. I kept reaching for it like a reflex. My brain did not know what to do with stillness. And that's the point. Stillness is the work. Neuroscience backs this up. When the brain is deprived of its usual stimuli, it doesn't immediately relax. It activates a withdrawal response, similar to substance withdrawal, where your body craves the old hit. But if you push through that discomfort, something shifts. You start hearing your own thoughts again. You stop numbing and you start noticing. And then you start rebuilding focus, not with force, but with rhythm. Think of it like strength training. The first reps feel weak and shaky, but every time you choose silence over noise, presence over panic, you're rebuilding your attention span. You don't need to quit cold turkey. You need to practice discomfort. Think about turning off the background noise. Leave your phone behind for one walk. Write without music for 5 minutes. Each small withdrawal is a win. Each pause is progress. Because the mind you want to build can't exist in the noise you refuse to leave. So how do we actually fix this? How do you pull yourself out of a dopamine flooded, overstimulated world and reclaim the kind of mind that's actually capable of focus, depth, and peace? See, you start small. You start with rhythm, not restriction. Here's your challenge. I want you to pick one overstimulated detox ritual and do it every day for 7 days. Not to be perfect, but to be present. You're not trying to shut everything off. You're trying to give your nervous system space to breathe. Here are 5 simple resets I've done that actually work and why they matter. Number 1, one silent walk per day. No phone, no podcast. Walking in silence activates your brain's default mode network, the space where clarity, insight, and creativity are born. Give your thoughts room to breathe. Number 2, no phone for the first 30 minutes after waking up. Cortisol levels are highest in the morning. Flooding your brain without stimuli during this time increases stress and reduces emotional regulation throughout the day. Number 3, 5 minutes of stillness after meals. Instead of scrolling while eating, pause. let your digestive system work without distraction. This improves gut-brain signaling and helps regulate hunger, mood, and satiety. Number 4, one quote-unquote no input hour daily. Think about no media, no conversations, just you and your presence. This is the nervous system's equivalent of a cold shower. It's hard at first, but it resets your baseline. Studies show that even short breaks from stimuli restore prefrontal cortex capacity. And number 5, last but certainly not least, daily urge awareness practice. Every time you instinctively reach for your phone, I want you to pause and I want you to ask, what am I trying to avoid? So you see, that moment of awareness rewires your response and builds mindfulness under pressure. These aren't hacks, they're anchors. Each one creates space. Each one rebuilds your brain's tolerance for stillness. Each one is a vote for the kind of mind you want to live with. Because in a world designed to steal your attention, choosing presence is a form of rebellion. You want your focus back? It starts with withdrawal. It grows through discomfort. And it's reclaiming through intention. So here's the truth. You're not broken. You're just overstimulated. And the same brain that got wired for chaos can be rewired for clarity. But it won't happen through force. It'll happen through space. So give yourself permission to pause, to get bored, to feel restless, to not reach for something. Because on the other side of that discomfort, there's depth, there's focus, and then most importantly, there's you, undistracted and completely whole. Tag me at Danny Livin, DANNYLYVIN, and let me know what you're committing to this week. Let's reclaim our focus, one mindful pause at a time. This is Hard Truths, and today's truth: you don't need more willpower. You just need less noise. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.